Welcome guys to Buff These Heroes. This is a special kind of video. I've never done something like this before, where I'm having 6 different amazing content creators as guests, including this guy over here, the beautiful R-Type. You'll hear from him shortly. And yeah, let's get right into it. Before we do, I have to say one thing. We're already seeing the fruits of our labor. One of my guests, actually the first one coming up, Slate, discussed a hero from the Piercer faction that already is getting a buff. So if you want to see these heroes get buffs, if we make enough noise, we can make a difference. So let us know in the comments or suggest other heroes you want to see buffed, and then we can make suggestions on Discord or we make a part 2 to this video. Let's get into it.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
So many legendary heroes in Watcher of Realms desperately need a buff, a rework, a fix, whatever the heck you want to call it. We got to buff these guys. How the heck are you? I am Fastidious. This is going to be a video with many guests in which I bring a guest on and they share 1 or 2 heroes they want to see buffed in Watcher of Realms. So let's get right into it. We have got Slate right over here. How are you doing, Slate?
I'm doing all right, Fasti. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I'm ready to get right into it. So you're our first guest of several. Pitch to me which legendary you want to see most get a buff, and what will that buff be? Let's talk about it.
Okay. So we recently had a banner for this hero, and that is Calypso. She is one of the OG single target marksmen in the game, and she basically has no place in the game. And that is because as content has gotten harder, there's nothing in her kit that lets her basically keep up with Zelus, Ivar, Praetus, Ingrid, and any of this stuff. And I actually think she's got a very easy fix. And that is simply that the seal stones that she spawns should do true damage. And the more seal stones that she produces, the higher the percentage of true damage that gets applied. Because as we have seen in this game, true damage is becoming something that is really needed in boss content. And we are seeing Piercer teams in APOC 2. I'm sure we will see them more in other things. And yeah, I think it's a very simple fix, is to simply make it that the seal stones have true damage capabilities.
I think that's a really, I was not seeing that coming. I think that's a really interesting idea. We didn't talk about this before, besides me saying we filmed something else. And I was like, by the way, that day when we film it, I also want to talk about a hero you want to buff, so bring one. But Calypso was the hero that inspired this entire idea, this entire video.
Really?
Yeah, it was after her banner, I did like a little rant, we need a buff heroes video. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll have a bunch of creators on and they can each pitch me one. I've got a different fix, which I'll save for a couple minutes from now. But yeah, I really like that with the true damage because it also makes her pretty darn unique, right? As it stands now, there's a couple sources of true damage like Kalina, who is the definition of dog water in this game. Where is she? I was actually looking for her to be unlit up because I just sold her on my free-to-play account, but that doesn't change the lighting up. Tons of arbiters can do it, especially in the form of radiant erosion. You know, some people can do it with bleed, but all in all, it is pretty rare. I don't think there's a single piercer that can do it. I really like that. It might take some tweaking and balancing, but I think it's a really clever idea. Let me ask, you said the more stones, the more percentage ignored. Is that like each stone ignores X percentage, so it's just more because it's stacking? Or is it like as you have more stones, they're each starting to ignore more damage? How do you envision that?
That's actually a really interesting thing. Let me have a quick look. So obviously, Sargak does have bleed, so you do have him doing...
Kind of true. It's a damage over time true damage.
Yeah, but... Okay, I cannot think off the top of my head what radiant erosion. Let's have a look here. It is...
Pelagios has radiant erosion, yeah.
Based on defense of the inflicted target every 2 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. So I don't actually know how that works out, but essentially you could do it where with each soul stone, she will ignore X percentage of defense, or you could do it where each seal stone would deal X percentage of true damage.
That's and I think when you first said it, that's what I thought. Like, so she's dealing whatever damage, right? And then it's like each soul stone deals, 25% of her damage, but as true damage, something like that. Or maybe it's 10%. Yeah. I don't know what the balance would need to be to make it reasonable.
I don't know what the balance would be either, but I think at A5, she can get an extra soul stone, which would then be very powerful. But I think she has 4 soul stones and then 5 at A5.
Yeah.
So even if that was 1% each, she would be dealing up to 5% true damage, which I don't think sounds too crazy. I mean, you've got to remember, Silas ignores 100%.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think my 25% each was a little crazy, because then it's like 125% equal to normal damage or true damage if you ever A5. I think 10% maybe is closer. I think 1% is a little low. Maybe it's 5% each. So if you could had her A5, once you're into it, past the beginning of an APOC 2 battle, every hit she comes with an extra hit, ignoring that equal to 25%, I think that could be cool. Or each one could just buff her, like you said.
But yeah, I'm not sure what the balance would be, but I think because it's already in her kit, I think that is something that could just very easily be changed for her to then actually have use, because she doesn't have use, sadly. And I think the idea of this summoning, where she gets stronger as the battle goes on, is designed for long form boss content, but she just doesn't have anything in her kit to be good at long form boss content. So
absolutely. Can I give you my 3 ideas that they could use all of them, or just one of them, or combine them with your idea? Okay, so first off, make this longer, so it really is geared just towards long boss fights, but make it way stronger. So like maybe instead of 600 costs, because 2,400 costs, and then actually only 2,000 when she's fully skilled up. It doesn't take that long for her to get all 4 stones up, or to be 2,500 if you ever A5. So maybe that's why they feel like it's okay to give us so little. Maybe make it 1,000, so it is really geared towards the APOC 2s, or maybe a longer Styx battle or something like that. But make them, instead of dealing 20% of her damage, they each deal 100%. Something that would not make her broken, believe it or not. People, it'd make her really good, but maybe it's 80%, whatever. I think that's one place to start. I guess this does go up to 30% as it stands right now. Another thing they could do, this bursty damage is pretty cool. And it also increases the damage of the seal stones, and has this cooldown here. I wish I was on my main account, so I didn't have to do the math in my head. But the number of attacks goes down to 7. It looks like, I think the cycling is always 9 seconds that it lasts. What if this was 5 seconds, but it only required 3 hits, so it was spamming all the time? Or what if it was 12 hits, but it would last for 20 seconds, something like that. Instead of the next attack, maybe it's the next 3 attacks. I think there's a lot of little tinkering that can be done already built into her kit. The final thing, and I'll get your response, why cap it at 4? Make it 8. Then maybe you could even leave her the way she is now, or barely buff the other stuff. Make it 10, and then she's like, oh, she's an APOC 2 hero. She's a Semra hero, because she's for the long battles. Make it 8, and then you get 2 more at A5. I don't think that would be broken for a lot of content.
No, and I think if you look at Ivar's kit, he gets up to 12 flying swords?
Yeah.
So, comparison, 5 to 12?
Yeah.
You're already losing a huge amount of damage. So it's not like there isn't the capability to do that sort of thing where a hero will stack to then do damage. So yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, why not make them true damage, add in extra, I think it'd be really good, because again, if you think at not just APOC 2, but Guild Boss 1, you already see the meta is Piercer, Nightmare, Infernal, but Piercer is effectively going to be, do you have a bonded Silas or not?
And do you have Hex?
How amazing would it be to have Hex, but you could also use Hex in Infernal.
Yeah.
But how amazing would it be to have another strong marksman that you could bring into this content, so that it's just, she'd have her niche, but at least she would have a niche.
Amazing. I love it. Yeah, and I think obviously, people can nitpick the proposals we've done and be like, oh, that's too strong, that's not strong enough. There would be testing and balancing to figure it out. But you shouted out like she's not as good as Yovar, Ingrid, or Paredes, or Bonded Silas. She's not even close, right? She's worse than basically everyone. I mean, if you go through the single targets, she's much worse. She's only better than Allura. She's much worse than Yuri. She's obviously worse than Sargok. For all the single targets. If you even go to the epics, I mean, for a lot of content, especially if it's not as long, like, are you ever picking her above a Brienne? Like, I don't think so. No. So no. I think she's in desperate need. I think this is a great one to start with. Thank you very much. Slate, any final words?
Nope, that is everything I can think of for Calypso.
All right, thank you, Slate. On to the next one. We gotta buff these guys, and here we are with our next guest, the phenomenal, the incomparable, Stormy Z. He's been on the channel before during streams. You've probably seen a lot of his videos. First time ever having you in a video. How are you, Stormy? Who are we going to buff?
The hero I desperately want to see buff is Apsan, or some like to call him Aspan. You know, it's just that he's so weak and so bad. Seriously, where do I even start? His damage is underwhelming. His passive is weak. His artifact is mediocre. Everything about him needs a buff, in my opinion.
I think you said that really concisely and really well. You brought the energy. It's just true. They act like he is an AoE DPS, so they brought down all his multipliers, but he's not. He gets one time three enemy multi-target on his ultimate, then a couple random things here. He's a single target with the most paltry, despicable multipliers. I think you made a great choice with Aspan over here. I mean, have you ever used this guy?
I have very in the beginning. I think I used him to clear faction trials, but other than that, nothing else. But I feel like compared to other heroes in his class, he brings nothing special to the table. Like, for example, Arrogance and Zelus both have burning. But Apsan, he's just there, you know? He if he's gonna be a good fighter, he needs some unique debuff. Something like maybe bleeding from his spear, or maybe a poison spear effect that can add damage over time, you know, that can make him more valuable to the team and can bring more to the table.
I love that. I mean, he's so weak, you could get away with a new debuff called like Bloody Poison, and it's both, right? Why not? You're getting the true damage over time, you're getting the magic damage over time, and you're getting a little increased physical damage taken. I think your head's in the right place there. To shout out another one, right? So basically what I said is, Apsan is coded as though he is a multi-target AoE, but he's actually a bad single target. Typically, you see worse multipliers on those AoEs, but it's to make up for the fact that they are hitting so many enemy units. However, he's coded like a bad single target, but he's still just single target. He's kind of the opposite of Ardia, right? Ardia is coded like a single target, but is AoE, so she's double OP. He is double opposite of OP, double UP, underpowered. So I think this is a perfect suggestion. Let's take this whole thing home. You mentioned poison or bleed or bloody poison. Anything else you would add to take this guy to another level?
Yes. So in my opinion, in order to be a strong hero in this game, you need a great ultimate. I think his ultimate needs a complete change, a complete overhaul, where we add some sort of like ignore 20% of his of the target's defense. I think that would make him stronger. He can actually burst something down now, and then since airborne units are his focus, we need to increase the bonus damage against airborne units even more. Like, increase that where he's like more crazy, more bursty. Something like Sargok, I think is the name.
And I mean, someone like Sargok does a lot of crazy stuff to airborne units. I think a really good example maybe would be Idril, who's only an epic. But if you go to this passive over here, when you rev this up, it actually comes up to, with skill ups, 70% extra damage to airborne units when another ally ults. I think what you've touched on is really strong. And it's just, you're not, like, viewers, players, you are not misreading this ultimate. There's no duration. This is one single move. So it's on a 400 ult cost, not a cooldown or anything. It happens every 15 or 20 or 25 seconds. And it's just one instance of penetrating damage, 3 enemy targets, 400%, which goes up to 100, and then 650% against airborne, which goes up to 700. I mean, this could literally be 1,500% and 2,500%, and it wouldn't be broken. That's how weak this skill is. So what I would suggest, I think you were kind of getting towards that. I loved your idea of adding a poison or a bleed. It actually synergizes really well with his faction and the kind of way he's designed. Like if they called it like bloody poison spear, something like that would be fun. And then make this have some kind of duration. So maybe it's like basic attacks are replaced by 200% damage to 3 enemy targets, an additional 100% damage to airborne targets, and ignores 15% of defense, and make it last for 10 seconds, right? All of a sudden, you've got a really, really cool ability. At the very least, he'll be very dominant as like that arrogance role, that melee airborne unit capability fighter in the middle of Gear Raid 3. You could see a lot of cool stuff. I mean, just to bring it home, and then I definitely want to get your final thoughts, Arrogance over here is not even a piercer, and he's about 30 times better in Gear Raid 3, the piercer stage, than Apsan. That's a problem, right?
Yep.
So any final thoughts on how you think this guy could rise to glory?
honestly, I think his talent needs to be reworked. I think his exclusive artifact needs to fix. I think like awakening buffs needs to be better. I feel like if you're lucky enough to awaken him, he should actually feel stronger. Like maybe add some more targets plus or in the awakenings or something like more attack speed or somewhere. He needs a brand new rebuff, rebranded, or like reworked, or whatever you call it, to make Apsan even more contender, because the fighter faction is pretty stacked, and I feel like right now he's like nowhere close to like Ardia or Arrogance, in my opinion.
Nowhere close. I mean, he's nowhere close to Esterid or to Kineza.
Yeah.
I mean, Esterid's way better. But I'm saying you can keep going down the list. He's as bad as it gets. Yeah, I gotta say, they built this whole thing around piercing javelin, penetrating 2 enemy targets, 100% damage, 150 against airborne. This is like, some people have better basic attacks than this, and this is like the key mechanism of his kit. So we got a problem here with Apsan. I really appreciate it, Stormy. This was a great suggestion of a hero in desperate need for a buff.
Yeah, he sucks, and I had fun today. Thank you once again for having me on. I hope they consider buffing some of these older heroes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stormy. We got more heroes to buff. Let's keep going. All right, let's keep buffing these heroes. We got Dr. D's, the doctor's in the office, the booty clapper of realms himself. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on, Fasti.
Always a pleasure, guys. We'll have everyone's links in the description, top pin comment, but definitely check out Dr. D's. Who we buffing?
This one was very easy. Very easy choice for me, mainly because he looks too cool to be this bad. We got my boy Zelus.
Yeah, okay. I'm very happy someone finally brought him up. He might be the coolest looking male model, like male character model in the game. Maybe not exactly a male model, but yeah, he sucks. Tell me why he sucks. Tell the people why he sucks.
His damage is non-existent. He comes with some sort of, what is it? Vulnerability, but it's the small version.
It's like the weirdest version. It starts at 10 and it goes to 14. What is that?
Yeah.
14.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So the one buff that I had in mind, there's actually a couple. I mean, there's a lot of buffs that you could do to my guy here. But one thing that would make him a lot more viable, well, the first thing would be his cost. It costs 25. If you just made that a little lower, that would make him a little bit more viable. But that ultimate right there, when he pops his ultimate, it goes straight out. If he could slow the enemies down, that would just make him so much more better. Just slowing the enemies down, allow your booty clappers to clap, and he could reach everybody. So it would make it pretty cool.
Yeah, I really like that because the damage isn't even close to there. I mean, it's like ground effect damage only, which means he does half damage to airborne. So you can like only use him in like Gear Raid 1. You can barely use him there. He just sucks. You can see the multipliers are weak. Just 100% AoE over 10 seconds. Does not increase with the skill ups. The thing that drives me nuts about Zelus is he has an exclusive piece of gear, and it's like, okay, so they know how to make him not suck. It doesn't make him good. It just makes him not suck. This should be the baseline. So this piece here, you can see, extends the ultimate duration by 10 seconds. Also, if he can pick up a kill, he can increase his damage over the course of the fight. Just over the course of that ultimate. But this should be 20 seconds at base, not 10 seconds. I mean, 10 seconds for one of the lowest, damage skills, like you said, it's crazy, crazy, crazy. I like the idea of the slow, I do, because like it would kind of enable the whole cultist faction as well, right?
Absolutely. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah. It's funny because that piece of gear, it's like, for every kill he gets during his ultimate, he gets 1% damage boost, as if in the 20 seconds he gets with his ultimate with the exclusive, he's picking up 20 kills. This piece of crap. They're probably thinking, oh yeah, but he's also getting a 10% boost for 5 seconds whenever he picks up a kill here. This guy's not killing anyone, right?
Yeah. The other guys are killing him, but if you can at least slow him, I mean, of course, if you raise his damage, that would be nice. But I think slows, especially being in the cultist faction, just kind of goes hand in hand, and it would make him a lot more viable. Also, he just costs an arm and a leg. A guy that costs 25 and looks this cool should not be this bad.
Totally. You know, I don't know if you know this, Deez, but do you know his cost was buffed?
What was it before?
It used to be 29.
Okay, I forgot about that.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
That is crazy. That is
and then
crazy.
if you can get him A4, he goes down to 22. So he's still more expensive than Comet, Virna, Boreas, same as Anora. I mean, I don't know what model they're looking at where he let me actually double check if that is the same as Anora. But I don't know who it is. I don't know who they think this guy is that he needs to be so expensive. There's a thing in this game where I think they scale costs based off of range. So if someone has a bigger range, they usually are more expensive to deploy. But I mean, this isn't that special, 5x3. Frankly, if you had Beelzebub and you built him just attack to the moon and you had his exclusive, he would do as much damage as Zelus, all while being top tier, inspiration, crowd control, vulnerabilities, the slows you were talking about, right? Vortex. Right. And then what do we get as Zelus? We get like some of the most middling damage in the game. So I'm really happy you brought him up. He blows.
Absolutely. Definitely needs a buff. Number 1 on my list.
Yeah, he's like the definition of the archetype of the hero that needs the buff. It's like clearly one of the first characters they created. They had no idea, Sun Wukong was coming, and like it's like a whole different situation here. I would also say, I would extend the duration. I would extend the effect. Add some kind of crowd control. I think it could go even beyond a slow. Maybe at base, he gets like a 50% slow on his basics, which by the way, you can't even speed this guy up. He moves like he's underwater. Like he's got this same kind of thing as a Virna or something, but Virna is obviously supremely powerful and has the execution. He's got a base attack control of 5 seconds, ties for the highest in the game, and you cannot decrease it.
That makes it tough.
It makes it tough.
Another thing they could do is add on some anti-heals.
So he's got anti-heal from his, he has the worst anti-heal in the game if you have his exclusive artifact. It goes up to like 45%. So they're still getting 55% of the healing. And that's at plus 25 max promotion. Yeah, okay, that's what we need to do. Make this last 20 seconds. You can keep the damage where it is. Who cares? Make it last 20 seconds. Give him anti-heal for 10 of those 20 seconds, right? So he doesn't even need to be OP. Give him slows on the basics. They're only happening once every 5 goddamn seconds. And then, maybe he's got like occasionally he does an immobilize or he does a vortex to group him up. I think then we've got like completely serviceable hero on our hands, right?
Absolutely. And on top of that, I'd be like, okay, now it's worth placing him out for 25 cost.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's be clear, he's still going to be like worse than half of the cultists for sure, but he's got a place, where right now he's just dog water. All right. Thank you for bringing this one up, Deez. He needed to be said.
Thanks for having me, bro.
My pleasure. On to the next one, guys. All right, let's buff these heroes on to our next guest, a first-time guest on the channel. We have got Corey over here. So, guys, if you don't know Corey, when did you start making content, Corey? Fairly new, right?
Yeah, I think about October of last year is when I kind of started to make videos. And then I think since season 7 started popping up, that's when I kind of started getting a little bit of attention, which is cool. And here I am, right?
Sweet. Yeah. Great to have you. And yeah, it's been about 7-8 months. So pretty as fresh a creator as we're going to get in Watcher Realms right now. And guys, if you're interested in PvP stuff, particularly Guild Wars, awesome GVG stuff on this channel, more than you'd ever find on the channel you're watching right now, mine. So definitely your amazing, invaluable resource. You have 78 videos on this channel. This video is absolute dog shit, but the other 77 are phenomenal. So without further ado, let's buff these heroes. Who do you got for me? Who are we going to punch out?
Venoma, absolutely.
Okay, Venoma, our legendary lord, our goddess. People think I don't know if you've ever seen, I do like a prayer to Venoma before summons. I don't do it for Venoma. I do it to Venoma because she's the goddess of the channel. I finally did pull her. It took me over a year and a half and over 20,000 summons, but I did finally pull her. But I've never been like out there looking for her because she sucks. She's a great lord, but she sucks as a hero. So how would you improve her?
So I apologize that you went ahead and got her. I'm on my 4th Venoma at this point. It's horrendous, right? So she's in a very interesting situation because she has very low base numbers when it comes to attack. So if you look at her base numbers, it's about 4.2k. And when you compare her to the other mages in her own faction, you're looking at 4.6k with Boreas, 4.6k with I think it's Boreas and then Comet. They both have 4.6. Yep. And Nora has 4.8k. So she's far outclassed in terms of overall damage. So what she really needs first and foremost is a damage boost just to her base numbers. Then secondly, she needs an increase in terms of her actual damage over time ability, and then she's going to be at least in a serviceable position because she has a good lore skill. It's just her numbers are very low overall.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think actually right before we started filming, we were chatting about how people really lose picture of the different stages of the game and just kind of have this myopic view of the singular stage they're in at that point. So people forget Venoma has an argument to be the best lord in the game for the early game. That insta-ult feature applying to all allies, not just faction allies, is crazy. You outgrow it in a wild way, and it becomes useless to you later on, so you forget that she had anything good going on. But she's got the cool legendary Esotericist thing, minus 25%. That's cool, same as Cyrus. And then her special thing later in the game is so much worse than Cyrus. But at the beginning, 30% rage for everyone is really cool on that first deployment. But actually, you pointed out her attack is low. It's worse than that, though. It is worse than that because the other people that have attack around her, like Comet and Berets, that's 4,600. And if we go to Curse Cult or something, we go to Virna, who I believe I want to say is 4,300. I hope I'm remembering that right. 43, 41. So she's in the same ballpark. All those guys do AoE. Venoma does some of the saddest single target damage in the game. So how could we improve? You talked about Hex, which I like because it's strictly unique to her, but it stinks. This is just a burn, right? This is literally just a burn.
Yep. And then also one thing that you mentioned is she is actually the only single target damage dealer when it comes to her faction right now, because technically she gets her
and Seraphina though.
Yeah. But she gets her double hit where she kind of becomes an AoE damage dealer at A5.
You know what?
It's such a high cost.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to leave this in. You're right. She is an AoE. She just sucks. I didn't even realize it was AoE this whole time. Playing this game, covering this game for a year and a half. She does have AoE on the ult. I never thought about that. I never even realized it because she's that unplaceable. But I stand corrected. Thank you. Sorry, please continue. But she does have AoE right here.
And then the final thing is, and I don't know how reliable this is because I did some testing like by myself because I have an alternate account. Her ability to inflict curse is very minuscule. It's about 20%. So in theory, every 5 hits, you should go ahead and get it. In practicality, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's that frequent, especially in Guild v Guild. I don't know if it actually triggers at all.
Really?
After hours of testing, it doesn't trigger. And I think it's 2 or 3 seconds. So even then, the attack interval of most units is longer than that.
Yeah, so it is 4 seconds, but yeah, like you said, 20% is only 20% if it's actually happening 20% of the time. So these things normalize over large amounts of instances, right? So if you're in a battle, it's only 20 hits. You could totally only hit it once or twice. The 4 second duration is cool. Frankly, you wish it was like 5 seconds or something to make it in line with that. And then when you combine it, she's not a marksman or something. She has that standard mage attack interval, I should say, of 2.6 seconds. So you're not going to really get her faster than 1.3, maybe 1.2 with a really high attack speed build. I want to circle back to this AoE. I didn't realize this. She's kind of like freaking like a poopy little Apsan who we talked about earlier in this video, where it's like, it's like an AoE the way Apsan does like a little multi-target, but it's a singular instance, right? You'll have other people that will do 480% damage for 10 seconds or something with every hit. This is just one little burst. And then one placement of Hex. I never realized, aside from that, she's just gonna place. This isn't an additional placement. This is just a slow along with it. So it's like it's like kind of a low cost, but not low enough at 600. This doesn't happen enough. It's not enough damage, and there's very little slow. So let's take it to the future then, because we want to buff these heroes. How do you think you would improve her? What could we adjust?
So first is initially improving the base numbers, right? She has to kind of get scaled up to at least a decent point. One of the reasons that's why Virna is so good is not because of her just normal single target damage. It's because she doesn't execute on her ult. That's one of the main factors as to why she's viable. So if you go ahead and increase Venoma's damage, she's going to be at least in line with the other units. You also have to be a little bit careful because even though she has a slow, which I believe is 50%, bump it up to like a 60%, something that feels like it's an actual slow whenever Venoma's in her ult, and ult's a unit. And then you can increase her range. I wouldn't suggest increasing her range because her ult range is actually really good when you look at it.
That's unique.
Yeah, I think it's the only one that has such a wide array. It'll basically catch everything. But
it's the same. It's one shorter, but it's almost the same as Yuri, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Yuri is the 3 on every side. This is 2 on these sides and 3 on the top and bottom. Yeah, I think you're definitely onto something there. I would say what they could do, make this last 5 to 10 seconds and make it be like one attack a second, right? Maybe they scale the damage multiplier slightly, but like you said, bring her up at least to a respectable 4,600 or something like that. Then you might have something, you're going to get a lot more placements of Hex, which means more slow. And then what I would suggest is maybe we could theory craft this right now. This is the same thing as Burn. So like for anyone who doesn't know, right, the standard Burn in this game is 5-second duration, 20% continuous magic damage per second. I mean, this is identical, right? Yeah, it's exactly the same. So what if it was something else?
I mean, it's Venoma. I would assume it should have been a poison, right?
Yeah. Or maybe it's called like Ancient Poison. It's even better than Poison, right? Like she is a freaking legendary lord after all. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe we make Hex. What if this was 50% continuous damage? Or what if it was 50% or 20% magic damage plus 1% true damage, right? Makes it a little more unique.
That'd be good. That'd be really good. That'd make her viable. That'd make her viable for sure.
At least make her deployable, right? You can't place her. She's there just for this, and then that's it.
The only time she was used was back in Arena whenever Boreas was first released. Because you got the instant ults and you could clear everything.
Exactly, but still not placed. You just place her as your 5th unit just because you have to place something. But you're just taking advantage of this. So, she doesn't even function. Like I'd say without the Lord skill, she would be the single worst legendary mage in the game in terms of kit.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, Moonton, you heard it from Corey. Any final thoughts about Venoma before we move to the next?
All right, so as it currently stands, Honora is definitely going to be a direct upgrade compared to Venoma. If you go ahead and look at the actual skills and what they do, Honora has a better ult, she has better base numbers, and whenever bonded, she also inflicts freeze.
Yeah, well, her bond skill is crazy, but she even has a better damage over time. Noxious Breath is also just the same thing, but it hits more targets, right? Now it's an AoE version of what Hex and Burn are. And then, like we said here, slightly less damage here with that initial burst, but then it lasts for another 20 seconds where she has increased damage and her summon has increased damage and her rage is extended and her range is extended and she doesn't suck like Venoma sucks.
Yep.
That's
all there is to it. Also, when you think about it, the percent magic damage, she already has higher base numbers, so she's going to do more.
Yeah. No, totally. So just the natural scaling on a much improved skill to begin with, a much improved damage over time effect to begin with. This is lasting 6 seconds. I mean, it's just like it's a laundry list of ways that like here, yeah, she's a cool limited, but the legendary lord, it can't even hold a candle to her.
Not even close. And that's honestly why she just needs to get buffed.
Yeah, so bad. Enough said. She needs a buff. Thank you, Corey. Everybody go check him out. Let's buff the next hero. All right, now a big welcome to my good, fantastic friend in Wancha Realms, a fantastic creator as well, R-Type. Thank you not just for joining me in this video, but also for editing the video in the future. So thank you, sir. How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me again.
It's always a pleasure. So we're buffing heroes today. Who do you want to buff?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got their like Cratches and Zelus and all that kind of stuff. Like everyone kind of knows that they already need buffs kind of thing. But I'm just gonna throw something weird out there, and it's gonna be Maw.
I like that, Maw. If I can find him, we're in the right section already. There he is. So yeah, very interesting choice because Maw is best in slot for something, right? But he kind of is worst in slot for everything else. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, he's great, but like his impalement, his ultimate, right? Like it's not better than Gluttony's, like it can't kill anybody that you actually need killed, right? So even if they just changed it to basically what he does in basically GVG, when you place him, it's a really strong hit, right?
You mean Maw when you place him in GVG as a demon soldier?
As a demon soldier, yeah.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
So
if I can quickly just say, when you're saying he's amazing, you're saying he's amazing for BP, where he's besides Yurden, he's like him and Jira are the next best in the whole game, right? And he's the best non-ancient. And then he's amazing not as a hero, as a demon soldier. But the hero, not amazing.
No, as a hero, just playing with him in the game, he's terrible. You know, like he has a lot of things in his kit in GVG as a demon soldier that he doesn't even have in the game, kind of a thing, you know? So like his bone shield or his bone, you know, whatever they call that.
Oh, you mean this, the Havoc?
Yeah, the bone spikes, right? Which massive damage to heroes in 2 tiles, right? He doesn't even have that in the game, you know? And all he does is single target damage, which is, you know, doesn't really help. If he at least has those, the functions that he does in GVG in the game, he'd be great.
That's actually a really good point. I hadn't thought of like you could just buff him by like making the demon captain version actually a hero, because anyone that's played GVG and used Maw, which is probably tons of people that have played the game for even a little while, once you get a little deeper into it, like it's really OP, the big AoE burst, but it takes an eternity, right? So maybe they could keep it that massive damage, but it's like 1,800 cost or something like that, right?
Yeah. And then like his you know, he has the execute now instead of basically massive damage kind of thing, right? So it just doesn't work out, you know?
Yeah, execute for one enemy, I mean, it's not cheap at all. It goes down to 900. And then I'll tell you, if I can give you my complaints about Maw, there is the makings of not a good hero, but like not a terrible hero, but it's completely undermined because anything interesting about this ultimate, because the execute is so lame and so infrequent, comes from this, like the increase in attack speed and then the attack boost. And then you can hike those up a decent bit and increase the duration, but it can't happen against bosses. It's impossible. So it's completely lost, because there's a world where, you know, yeah, he's like a common kind of legendary and he was the fusion back in the day. You know, maybe a beginner player could be using him in boss content. You probably could use him quite effectively. You know, he's got his HP through the roof and stuff. He could tank for you while putting out bleeds, but it's just completely undermined by this not affecting bosses. And then the other way to stack him up and get him going really good is by killing targets. And if it's boss content, you're not killing anything. So I just feel like it's one of the worst design kits in the game.
Yeah, it is. It's terrible. You know, they threw him out there for a BP check kind of a thing for everybody, and that's pretty much it kind of thing. You know, you can make him a decent hero.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. You'll never see him on a worst hero list because he's so good for one thing. But for everything else, he has an argument to be like the worst in the game because he's just completely unusable. So yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. We like to talk about what we could actually change. Why not make this that massive damage thing? Make it cost a fortune, but make it a proper AoE and pretty devastating.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts about Maw?
No, that's pretty much it. You know, just wanted to throw one character out there that nobody thought, you know, would think about kind of a thing.
Totally. Yeah, I guess the final that I'd say is like, it just feels like they half did it on every part of him. Like, give him an extra tile, give him something like, what is this square? Give him the diamond. What is all the single target? Why does he have a worse execute than a nightmare epic? You know, just like treat him with some respect. They already made him gorgeous, right? He's already drop dead beautiful, but if they could do something to make the kit match.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, R-Type. Let's buff some more heroes. Let's buff some more heroes, guys. We've got Prospector now. How you doing, Prospector?
I'm doing great, man. It's happy to be here. Happy to check out some heroes for some nice buffs.
Absolutely. We're very happy to have you. So, guys, if you want Prospector's info, it's going to be below in the description, top pin comment. But most importantly, right now, who are we going to buff?
All right, so this might be... I'm not going to say it's controversial, but it might be a hero that nobody's going to really think about. And I have a good reason for it.
Please.
I want you to go to Admiral Claw.
Gotcha. All right, the Claw. Tell me about him.
The Claw. All right, so he's an exclusive or ancient exclusive hero. And this guy is just trash. I've tried to use him in a lot of content, tried to make him work somewhere. Yeah, you could make the argument that early on, if you pull him and he's one of your few legendaries, that he could carry you a little bit. But in the end, for being an ancient exclusive, I just don't think his damage is there. And there's quite a few reasons for it. But I don't know, are you using him at all for anything? Have you tried using him for anything?
I've never pulled him. I made a god on him when he came out. He's been buffed since then. I've got to say, he's probably the best hero on this list. I think he's the best hero any of the guests have brought on. But I think you touched on something that makes him probably worthy of a buff, though he probably will be lower in buff priority maybe for the devs than, a Giselle or something when it comes to ancient exclusives. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he really only feels relevant for before you have better options, which is kind of not what you want out of an ancient exclusive. I think that's really true. So if you got Admiral Claw as one of your first 5 heroes, you'd probably love him. You're probably using him all over. He can actually do some cool stuff in both of the guild bosses. But aside from that, it's kind of just literally just faction trials, right? Just faction.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just
the AoE damage just isn't there. I mean, he's supposed to be somewhat AoE, and if you look at his damage multipliers on his ult, which you're looking at right now, they're very, very low. And if you go over to his actual hero details for his attack, it is also very, very low.
Yeah, I think
and it's just the damage isn't there,
I think penetration has become more popular. To be fair, it already existed when he came out, but they were in their heads thinking his penetration was going to make him far more powerful than it actually does. So they think you can get away with fairly low attack, especially for a newish fighter. He's only a year old, and especially a chaotic one. We're used to seeing Valeria's 6,200. I think Cerberus is 6,500. Ardia's 7,900, right? I think Valderon's somewhere in the low 6,000s too. So I mean, this is just kind of a joke. He's got the penetration, but all those people can ignore defense too in their own ways.
Yep.
So yeah, I just don't think it's enough. Maybe he could get a little glow up with the new Dirtsa buff, keeping him nice and low. But I don't know.
Yeah, that might work.
I think I agree with you. So if people don't know, he has this pull effect. It's only 5, but it's perfect for faction trials, right? It's so good in Nightmare, but there is no faction trials for chaotic. And yeah, you just want more bang for your buck out of a freaking ancient exclusive. So here, let's turn it a little bit. Let me say one more thing. Actually, they clearly designed him thinking he was this arena slayer. Has anyone ever seen him in arena? At Plat 3 or higher, or even Plat 2. I've never seen, the whole time I played my 3 to play, I didn't see him once. I can't imagine a world.
No, I don't know why you'd want to pull. I don't think his pull is really that far of a reach.
No.
Especially with the map we're using now. If it was a further reach and it could actually grab those units in AoE and pull them forward maybe somehow.
Yeah, imagine if this was 5x3 or 6x3 then you'd have something really unique. Yeah, like what Malvira can do, right? She's got 5x3 in the ult. Right. She can pull them the whole way. I want to say one more thing, because just you don't know this, but I've been in all the chapters of this video, so we're gonna have to put yours to the end because it feels like we've worked up to a moment here. We talked about Apsan in this video, and we talked about Venoma, and now Claw. I don't know if you know, but they all have something really in common here. They have one little burst mini AoE ult, and it's very short, and then it comes back around. And I think the devs just think this is so much stronger than it is. 250% AoE damage for 3 seconds. It's one hit. Compare that to freaking Ardia. Where's Ardia hiding out? Where it's just nonstop. 15 seconds the whole time she's in a frenzied state. Her HP gets nice and low. She gets every bonus in the world, and she deletes everything. Not saying Claw needs to be Ardia, but you're getting a constant 15-second duration. Whereas with Claw, it's just the little bursts. And for anyone that watched when we talked about Apsan, right, with Stormy, it's just a cute little burst. Or when we had Corey on and we talked about Venoma, it's just a cute little burst. That's all it is, right? There's a theme here. I think they just have really misunderstood how certain heroes in this game work and don't work. So let me put the ball back in your court, my friend. How are we going to fix this guy? Because, like we said, he's not bad. The penetration is cool, but he's not even close to good, and he's so disappointing to pull.
Yeah, that's one of the main points I would say, is that if you were pulling your ancients and all of a sudden an Admiral Claw pops out, that's got to be a pretty sad moment, especially if you've been playing for a while. At least 6 months in, you're not going to want to use this guy,
If you're grinding hard 3 months in, you're not going to want to use it.
Yeah, that's right. I think as far as fixing it, I would say that damage multiplier on the ultimate has to go way up. I mean, we're looking at Razak is pushing 1,000% on his damage multiplier, and it's still kind of, not quite enough yet. But there's that, and there's the option as well as just to boost that attack, and I think we'd be cooking. I think it doesn't really need that much, and he'd be pretty useful.
He's one of the easier fixes. I can think of, going off what you said, 2 ways to fix it. Keep it as one singular burst, but make it 900%. and maybe make the cost like instead of going down to 500, it goes down to like 400. And so it's really spamming.
Yeah.
Or put the cost up, like leave it at 700 or start it at 900 and it goes down to 700, but have it just last. Every attack hits 5 enemies, pulls 5 new guys in, 250% for 12 seconds, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
But he's
do it a couple times or something. Yeah.
He does 3 big blasts of 300% each or 400% each. Then you kind of have something. But I mean, it's just so silly because it's not even. You mentioned Razak. Razak, I'd have to go to the old game file stuff, but I'm pretty sure like most AOE marksman, he hits up to 10 targets with his AOE. Yeah. We're talking half that, and yeah, Razak's burst isn't even that special. It's the same kind of thing here. So I think you're really onto something here. Might seem a little out of left field to people just because he's not like bad, but boy is he not good. I guess the way we know how we could bring this home, Prospector. Just like look at every other option, right? It's like Giselle.
You're right.
Who's worse? Just Giselle, I think.
Just Giselle.
Actually,
yeah.
I would say now that Dirt's got his big buff, no one else is even in the conversation. The next like worse as a hero would be like maybe Lugaru or Uridin, who are both like kind of superstars in certain things.
Yeah, they have their niche uses and they're very good at them.
And then here, I guess it would be...
can't find it for Admiral.
I mean, Factory Trials, sick. maybe Nightmare 15
awesome.
when that comes will be the hardest thing and you need Admiral Claw. I don't know. But and then here it'd be like Eunomia, and Eunomia is so much better than him. So yeah.
Yes. And I think one other option that they could do is, if we did kind of touch on it a little bit, is if he was able to use, and maybe not have a lot of damage on him, but if he had better pull for things like Arena or something like that, you could maybe try to figure out something to use him for. Like you said about what Melvaria, it's the same concept. Or, if you could pull in, you don't even need to do that much damage, but bring him in to target.
You have a lot of cool content on your channel doing stuff in front of the wall in Gear Raid 1. Granted, that's a little earlier game. But like, imagine if he had 5x3 or 6x3, he could change the whole approach to Gear Raid 1. He could just start pulling, no waiting. Just imagine if this was happening at 400 cost or something, 500 cost, and he's just pulling them in every 10 seconds, and you can just pick them off their comet, and the guy doesn't know where to heal. There could be some really cool uses. So I actually like that a lot.
Yeah.
I really do. I think this is one of my favorite suggestions because it would be one of the easiest ones for them to fix, I think.
Yes, it would be.
Cool.
And you never want to feel sad when you pull Legendary on Ancients.
Yeah. you know, one more suggestion. If this was like 8,500 base attack, then they don't even have to do anything else.
Nope, he's good to go.
He's good to go.
Changes his base stat.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Prospector. You will end up being our last guest of this video. Thank you. You got any final thoughts? Anything you're cooking up?
Not really working on much. We're just pushing that Saurian boss as much as possible, trying to work up some free-to-play kind of comps, but you can't really free-to-play a boss like that, so It's been a real struggle. I think I worked on it for like 12 hours yesterday, just trying different teams and everything. I don't know. Yeah. Everybody's seems to be worked up about it, so.
Absolutely. Well, everyone stay tuned on Prospector's channel for that hopefully eventual free-to-play solution to Abyss 1. And be sure to check out all our other guests' channels. Definitely let me know in the comments if you liked this style video. It's an idea I had like 6 weeks ago at this point, but we had 6 guests, so it took a while to coordinate. Thank you, sir. Thank you guys for watching. I've been Fastidious. Share it with your mother, and we'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.